afternoon, good evening, and good morning to wherever you are. And welcome to another Nerd Nation stream. Today we're talking Discovery Season 3, Episode 8, The Sanctuary. I'm with my usual host and my fellow Nerd Nation Star Trekaholic, Cousin Cheeto. How you doing, mate?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. How about you?
Oh, I'm great. Just saw the episode. Can't wait to talk about it. So shall we get going?
Yep, let's get her done.
All right. So this episode begins with the coldest of cold openings with Philippa and Cole basically talking about Philippa's condition. As we both know, Philippa's been blacking out a lot. And he just starts off with Philippa being a little bit of a hard ass and Colbert being quite fearless to her. And I'm going to talk about this scene in more depth a little bit later on. But that was initially cold opening. Michael Burnham's there. She walks out and Book immediately. She walks out of the what do you call it? The doctor's quarters and leaves Colbert and Philippa behind, and it has to deal with Book. Book has basically said that the Emerald Chain, that's the name of the group, we got it now, the Emerald Chain, are basically going to go and fuck up Book's home world, because in the past they had a problem when it came to like they had a problem with some of their harvesting, and they gave them some tech and stuff like that to help with the harvesting shields and shit like that, and then in turn they gave them the some transwarping shit. That's what that I believe that what it was about. And that was the initial opening. I'm so sorry if I'm losing my track. I'm losing my senses here a little bit. I do apologize about that. I'm just trying to. My notes just disappeared for a second. But that was a cold opening for Star Trek. That's how it began. Not much there. I was more interested initially in what was happening between Colbert and Philippa in this cold opening. What did you think, Bob?
I mean, yeah, I was more interested in what was going on with Philippa and Dr. Colbert. Colbert. I don't remember.
Is it Colbert? I thought it was Colbert.
It's probably Colbert. You're probably right. I just think Colbert because Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, that jackwagon. But yeah, I really like this opening intro. It put a little bit. I mean, I know Michael Burnham was there, and yeah, I'm gonna be the first to admit that this episode, even though Michael Burnham was in it a lot, it did not feel like a Michael Burnham centric episode. So
she was supporting.
Yeah, she was very supporting in this episode. I didn't feel like she was kind of the hog in the spotlight for very much of this episode at all, which was a nice change.
This was Book's episode.
I feel like, well, I mean, yeah, part of it was definitely Book's episode. I also feel like it was Tilly's episode a little bit.
Like I thought maybe more Saru than Tilly, in my opinion.
Yeah, that too. I mean, it was kind of like there were definitely character. There were definitely character, like it was a well-rounded episode when it comes to the supporting anyone but Burnham cast. Like, Book had his part, and that was one of the main parts going on, and Saru and Tilly had their thing kind of going on. And then the Dr. Colbert and I see Colbert now, great. Dr. Coburn and Philippa have their thing going on, and then the Trill and Stamets.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I know we haven't gotten any of those parts yet, but like those are. I felt like this episode was very, very well rounded on the supported.
Yeah, there's three stories. There's three stories in this. Is the main story arc regarding Book, and that itself is split into two things: what's happening on the ship and what's happening on the ground. Mm-hmm. And then also what's happening on the ship is two other story modes. We have what's happening with Philippa and all of that shit, and her interactions with the doctors, as well as Adira having to understand what it means to have a symbiote inside her after a period of time. So yeah, so we're actually, I do apologize. Before the credits do roll up, we get to meet Osara. Obviously she's got the She-Hulk image going on. I'm really not liking the look of the Orions on this show. There's an inflatedness about their faces that I just don't like. I'm not feeling it. Nevertheless, she kills her nephew with the hypno slug. It's called a transit worm. It basically hypnotizes her nephew, eats him up. That's a nice introduction to her. I kind of felt that the writing was on the wall for him What about yourself?
Oh yeah, I felt that the writing was definitely on the wall with that one.
Yeah, me too. So obviously she's a baddie, but I'll be honest with you. So throughout the show, what I get of her is that she's not leaving a lasting impression. Nevertheless, after the credits roll, we get Tilly doing her first officer's duty. She's acting more like a bloody PA alongside Saru. And today's running gag in the show is Saru trying to figure out his engage, make it so sort of catchphrase.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew the moment he said, what did he say? He says hit it to Tilly. He uses Pike's catchphrase.
Yeah.
And I knew once he did that, I thought, yeah, he's going to be doing this a few times in this episode. I instantly realized, and he did. So what they do after all of that shit, Saru walks into engineering, and we find out the origins of the burn, not what created the burn, but where it began. Okay, and that was really weird how they just immediately brought that up. I didn't like that, to tell you the truth. All this shit about finding, but here's the origin right here. We've got a few black boxes. Boom.
Yeah.
And then also at the same time as well, they gather more information, and they find out that these sort of signals are matching the music which was played by Adira on the cello, and we heard on the Barzan ship. And Saru, using his alien eyes and alien ears, is able to determine something from these signals, and he's able to analyze something. And we basically find out there's a Federation ship in distress, and to get more information on this and find out exactly where the ship is, more decoding will take. There'll be more decoding that's required. Obviously, even though they're in the 31st century, it'll still take them fucking several hours to do. And I wish this thing would stop switching off. And after that, Stamets makes a compliment about Adira, but refers to her as she. Adira doesn't like that for obvious reasons. And then quickly tells Stamets, can you please call me Day and not she? And obviously this is how she feels regarding being a human being with a Trill symbiote inside her. She feels like she's multiple people, not just one. And she wants to be referred as a multiple person, which is why it makes sense that she was being called Day. And I have no qualms with that whatsoever. So from the moment they found out about the burn, to the music, to Saru deciphering, and as well as Adira, how she wants to be recognized, what do you think of all of that, Roberto?
I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's character growth. You're talking about the Trill, right?
Not just her, but everything. I mean, we're talking about finding out about the burn's origin, which was
that was
really, really wiped over quite quick because we went straight onto the signals.
It's a Starfleet distress call. Yeah, I really feel like they should have saved this for like whatever episode they go to investigate it. But I mean,
because I want to mention this right now, that apart from one other moment in this episode, after this, they talked about decoding right up to the end. This Federation ship, which they're trying to find by decoding this message and information, it doesn't get referred to anymore, which is kind of weird. So they just totally forget about this, or it felt a bit weird that it was involved in this episode. And if it was supposed to continue later on, it never really implemented that. I felt that this issue was going to be resolved in this episode, and it didn't, which is a bit weird.
And also keep in mind the next two episodes are a two-parter, so I'm guessing that they're probably go into this in the next two parts.
So the ongoing joke obviously is Saru trying to find his catchphrase, and they get sent obviously to book please to the Admiral. So I'm jumping way ahead of myself. Book please to the Admiral. That can you please send us to this planet? Osara is going to take it down. We need information. We need your help. And I believe the Admiral lets Book do this with Discovery alongside them, as long as Discovery only goes there as observers. And so that's what happens. And when Saru decides to make it so, he says execute on the spore drive, and you can see the rest of the crew saying, "What the fuck? All right, whatever." And then.
What is he? I'm trying to remember. What does he say normally? Because he's been doing the captain thing for a while now. Like, I mean,
yeah, but he talks to them. He says, "Okay, warp 7, whatever." He doesn't really. He just hasn't found it yet, has he?
No.
Okay, so we're now back, and I'm going to basically talk about this whole subplot in one section now because it does get split along the course of this episode, but I think we should just talk about it now so we can deal with it now. It's all about Philippa and the Doctor. Now, when they start operating on her, on Philippa, I did think at some point one of these two doctors might get killed by Philippa. I'm not sure if you thought that too. I thought she was going to have some sort of spasm and go all tearing on them and fucking crack some necks and shit. She was going to wake up.
It's possible.
I felt that, but they're working on her. She's obviously going through some shit, and her body starts fluctuating in weird ways. That was a bit weird. And she wakes up, takes off the implant, sneaks one in, palms one. I mean, she's always bitching with the people who are trying to help her. She's always having a go at the very people who are trying to save her fucking lives. And you also think to yourself, these people are trying to save you, and I'm worried that you're going to fucking kill them in the process.
Yeah,
but
right.
It's so weird. She goes over to, I believe, engineering or some security section or some shit like that. She uses the implant to help her override the computer, and she finds out that she believes that she might be dying. This is all very unusual. This Philippa storyline of her possibly dying. I'm not really liking that. And making me feel sympathy for a fucking tyrant. Are you mad? This, in my opinion, could be the wrong. This is for me one of the worst things. And I do love this season, but doing this with Philippa, this sympathy side, no, like we like her because she is badass. We like her because she is dangerous. We like her because she might turn on Discovery if given the opportunity. You know, I like her that she's that necessary evil they sometimes call to to get them out of a jam. You know, if they can't do it the Starfleet way. And so for this storyline to be created for her, and I think this is going to make. I really feel that at the end of this, Giorgio is going to be a little bit more softened by the outcome of all of this. It's going to make her respect the people around her a little bit more and soften her edges a little bit, so she's more. She's willing to open up to people a bit more and maybe show a bit more vulnerability to her friends, because they are her friends, even though she might not think they're friend. She's their friend. They are friends to her. They care for her. So I don't like what's going on here. I don't like what's going on. Just keep her as a fucking badass. You don't need to give her this shit storyline. I'm not happy with this. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. I don't think Giorgio needs like a storyline she's kind of like the only storyline she really needs is like if she goes off and does her own thing, like in this new world. I don't know if I agree with
this is like the limitations of the writers here, because they want someone like Michelle Yeoh to be in this fucking show. She's a fucking massive actress. At the same time, if she's going to be on this show and she's not fucking trying to take over the ship, then what are we going to do with her? You know what I mean? So this is the only solution they came up with without her being too much of a hindrance to Discovery, without making us think that she's going to stab him in the back. But I like the idea of making us think that she's going to stab him in the back. I want her to be the Dr. Smith of this fucking Enterprise. Of this spaceship, where you've got somebody who's like ally and enemy at the same time. I like that. And I'm just not liking this. I mean, the execution of this is done well, but I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with the path they're going down. Any more on this?
Nope, not really. I mean, you pretty much covered it with that.
All right. So that was one of the subplots done. We can go on about it later if you like, no problem. So whilst Adira and Stamets are waiting for this message in signal shit to be decoded, they decide to have a little bit of downtime. Adira's playing the tune, some tunes on the cello. Stamets happens to be a pianist. That's really great. Adira tells Stamets, "Look, I'm no longer being able to speak to Gray anymore. He's not coming up in my visuals. I'm not seeing him anymore. At the same time, I still feel him. And then another day, I feel another trill. And then another day, I feel this trill. And other days, I'm just me." And I think she's finding the feeling overwhelming and stuff like that. And we will get to this later on. But at first, I thought maybe Stamets is being like a big brother to her. But as the course of this episode goes on, you find out Stamets is more being like a father to her. And I'm liking their relationship. He really cares for her. Anything to add on that, Bob?
No, I'm really liking the way that this character arc is going with Stamets and her. I feel like that it's endearing to Stamets at this point, which is kind of the point, as to probably why they're doing it. But yeah, I really feel like that this, little character development for Stamets is, I think it's good, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too. So we get to see Ren again, Ren the Andorian, aka Tilly's husband, and we do see some interactions between Tilly and Ren. But he wants to leave the ship, and he's informed by Saru that Osara also knows that you're is on her way, and she'll know that you're down on that planet if you decide to leave. And this gives, like, the Andorians never really liked the Federation, and Ren brings it up later on in this episode of their distrust when growing up about and hearing stories about the Federation are going to get you and stuff. So he has a really bad impression of the Federation. And when Tilly basically telling him to address the captain, the appropriate way, I mean, you can tell she's really trying to get into her role as first officer. Maybe she's getting a bit too much into it, but that didn't leave a good first impression on the Andorian. And he obviously feels that there's a bit of hostility. I am going to expand on this, but what do you think of this little scene?
I thought it was good. I mean, it was good to see Tilly kind of, as I said, it's not the fact that I don't want Tilly as the first officer. It just makes no sense with her, where her character's at in her career. So I liked it, but as I said, I just, every time, and it'll just take me a little bit of time to get used to it, but I just feel like I don't understand why she's the first officer. But she did a good job at it. So, I mean, yeah.
Okay,
I just don't want her to look like Saru's assistant. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want her to look like, because I mean, when they were walking through the halls, I was kind of like,
Yeah, she's like a PA. She's like a personal assistant.
Yeah, like, and I didn't like that.
Schedules are this, that, and the other. Yeah.
But when they were in like the I don't know if that's not maybe if it's a ready room or whatever that is off the bridge. I mean, that felt more like a first officer scene for her. But like them walking through the halls and her being like, "Oh well, we're working on the other thing, which is his, it make it so, and it's just like I don't feel like that's a first officer's job. Like, really, you know what I mean? Like, it's very PA-ish.
I guess. Well, we get Osara introducing herself now to this. Oh, sorry. By the way, the ship is obviously Spore Drive to Book's planet, and Book lands on the planet with Michael alongside him, and we get to see these blue sort of firefly sort of locusty things. Now they're basically destroying a lot of the harvest on this planet, which is why there's a food issue for these people on this planet. And then Michael and Booker are taken hostage by Booker T's brother, Stevie Ray. And Booker and Book's brother, unfortunately, is working for Osara because he needs the food because of the fact that the locusts are destroying the harvest. And this was an introduction of Book's brother. Obviously, they don't really look alike, and nothing was really explained about their backstory. But who gives a fuck? They are brothers. They both telepaths and shit like that, empaths or what the fuck. Book's brother, Stevie Ray. What do you think? Blue Locust. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, this whole part of the episode was kind of just like, meh, okay. I mean, it was nice to see a little bit of Book's backstory a little bit, but I mean, I was more intrigued with what was going on the ship and with the Emerald Chain and everything like that, rather than what was going on the planet.
Yeah,
truth be told.
Yeah, I will bring this up again, but so far I found the subplots to be far more engaging than the main plot. So we Osara, she's her big ass battleship comes along. She introduces herself to Discovery. She doesn't mind being scammed because she wants Discovery to know how fucking well armed she is, and she's not fucking around. She wants Ren back, the Andorian, immediately, and she doesn't want to negotiate. She knows that she knows the Federation is still weak because Discovery is alone. If they were going to have a ruckus, there would have been more ships. So she's an intelligent bad guy. we also then get an immediate cut to Osara's hollow image on the planet, which is the planet's name I've totally forgotten. And she tells Stevie Ray that, listen, your kids are going to starve and I'm going to fuck over your planet if you don't give me Booker T and Michael Burnham. Okay, or Michael P.S. Hayes, however you want to fucking call him. Flow her locks like that, you know. Anyway, no one's going to get that. Anyway. Anyways, so we see Osara start rocketing the fucking planet, and Saru basically has no choice but to intervene because it's Starfleet protocol. He can't just be an observer now. But Tilly, she does a Michael Burnham herself and comes up with a really unique solution, because if the Enterprise, if I keep calling it the Enterprise, if Discovery gets involved in this battle against Osara, then they're basically engaging in war with the Emerald Chain. So Tilly's idea is to fucking use Booker T's ship, which is not a Federation ship, and she gets and she mentions that a particular pilot is going to be rogue, who goes rogue and gets punished. Obviously, Detmer gets a moment to shine in the sun. She takes Ren as well with her because Ren knows the layout of the ship they're going to be attacking, and we get some good moments on the ship. We get them shooting the ship. We get the fucking cat jumping on Ren's lap, and I love his reaction. He goes, "What the hell is that?" Oh, I loved it. I loved it so fucking much. Yeah, it made me laugh so much. And because like Detmer is a very courageous fighter pilot who goes into a lot of the danger. He's now holding on to this cat for fucking dear life, which I fucking loved. We get some pep talk between Detmer and Ren, sorry. Basically saying, look, we need you. We know that you know the layout of the ships, and you've stood up to her. We're going to stand up to her, and when you face something, you can beat it. Something along those lines. Yeah. And and like she does a Star Trek Generations. She fucking turns the fucking board into fucking joysticks, and and this is pod racing, baby. And she starts fucking flying around. No,
that was Insurrection. That was not Generations.
It was Generations. No, was it? Okay, all right, whatever.
No, that was Insurrection.
He shaved the beard in Generations, no, yeah, you're right. Insurrection, my bad. He shaved the beard in Insurrection, my bad. But I remember he was beardless when he did it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So they destroy the weapons, and after destroying the weapons on their spaceship, Osara says, "Next time we see you, we're gonna get you, Discovery. Hoo ha ha ha. Next time," and they shoot off into the distance. I like the way Saru said, "Would you like some assistance? You seem to be badly damaged." Very, very cheeky. I fucking love it. But
wasn't there an episode of Next Gen where they did that, like where somebody was trying to attack them or whatever?
I'm sure that trick has been played on one of the shows, one of the TNG era shows for sure. I can't remember which one. But nevertheless, from the moment as Osara introduces herself to the negotiations for Ren jumping on board the ship, on Booker T's ship, and Detmer flying it and fucking them up, I'm not sure if I really believed that little ship could do so much fucking damage.
I thought the same thing, but I mean, I was suspending my plausible brain for my fictional brain.
Well, I took the fact that Detmer is a highly skilled pilot into consideration.
Yeah,
like she is a fighter pilot, to a degree, and but nevertheless, I mean, they were down to 10% shields, and she should have been blown to smithereens. When I'm down to 10% shields in the game, I know I'm dying. So, but nevertheless, it was a nice little action scene. Anything you want to mention about all of that shit?
But this ain't no game, Zam. This ain't no game. But yeah, it was, it was good. As I said, this is a very well-rounded character episode where a lot of characters got their time to shine. They got a little bit of ability to kind of just bloom a little bit more in the character department. So I really thought that it was a great thing.
Now, at the same time, Book and Stevie Ray, they tried to escape. Michael and Booker escape Stevie Ray, but Stevie Ray catches up with them, and Booker and Stevie have a fight. But I think Booker being on Starfleet, he's learned some Starfleet morals, because after beating his brother in the fight, he then actually takes the gun of Michael Burnham and says, "Look, if you want to be Osara's lapdog and you have to kill your brother, here, do it." And he gives him his gun and obviously Stevie Ray's not going to kill his fucking brother. And obviously with Osara being defeated in space, everything's hunky dory. And then they use their telepathic powers or the empathic powers to communicate with the fucking locusts with a little bit of frequency boost help from Discovery to send those locusts into the ocean. And when Saru before they activated that frequency boost, Saru says "carry on," and that didn't work either. I remember everyone's faces going, is that a good phrase for him to use?
I don't like it. But, I mean,
we're all wondering if that works. But yeah, they got rid of the fucking space locust by doing some fucking shitty chant. What do you think?
It was all right. As I said, the stuff that was going on the planet was kind of secondary to everything else that was going on, in my opinion. Yeah, I kind of didn't. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like it was like a little bit of an easy out. Like they've had these. How long have those locusts been terrorized? Wasn't it? Didn't they say like 100 years or something like that, or whatever? However long the locusts had been, you know.
I have no idea, because they seem to be friendly killer locusts, which was a bit weird. Like they're going to destroy your harvest, but we're nice. We'll talk to you.
Right.
We'll if you want to tell us to fuck off, we'll fuck off and go to the ocean where there's no food for us. Yeah. No problem. So
it seemed weird, and I was just like, I mean,
because they were asked to go. They didn't.
And they went, what's stopping them from coming back? Like the next day they're like, "Oh, this sucks. We're going back."
Well, that was a nice, weird ending. I mean, this episode is very hit and miss for me. But I'll progress. We're back on the Discovery now, and Detmer is now bragging about her piloting skills, saying how she went full manual, and people going, "No way, you went full manual." "Yes way, ask the blue guy." And the blue guy's going, yeah, she did, yeah. You know what I mean? So that was pretty cool. And like, these are the moments of trust you get with, I'll mention this with Booking a little bit, but you also get it, you see it initially first with Ren. Like, he saw what Starfleet did, he saw what Discovery did, he got to know them a bit better, and he felt like he could trust them, and he had some information on dilithium, and he tells Tilly, aka his wife, that I'll give you that information too. And that's how that scene ends.
I'll share a secret.
Yeah. I bet, you know what? I really hope they don't have a relationship, because that'll be corny as fuck. Hey, look at this, like, cool. They're married in real life.
Triple H and Stephanie McMahon getting married. Oh,
no, that is as bad as in what do you call it? In Legends of Tomorrow with
yeah.
Brendan Ruth and his wife, that shit. No, I'm not feeling that at all. So, we're at the tail end of this episode now. We're getting some family vibes. First of all, we have Stamets and Colbert, being a lovely couple as they are, looking over their, sort of adopted, teenage adopted daughter, putting the warm coat around her. Really, it really was a family, man, and I loved it. They will be a makeshift family. These three, mum, dad, and daughter. I love it. Or dad, sorry, dad, and daughter. I love it.
Yeah. Well, and I really feel like that. Like, I don't know if I'm feeling this Trill, just because it's like, normally when a Trill comes, and when they get a symbiote and everything like that, they become a totally different person. I feel like she hasn't, and maybe she's just in an adjustment period.
Well, she is human.
Huh?
She is human.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, it's just, I feel like Yeah, okay, so you're probably right, but still, I just feel like that there's not as much of a change with her as.
Well, you thought she found herself after the Trill episode, but to a degree, she's still finding herself.
Yeah.
So, but it was just nice, just that moment of family unity, togetherness. Like I said, I just love fucking Dr. Colbert. I think he's become my favorite character on the show now. I think so. I just,
Well,
he's just such a lovely guy. I would love for him to be. If I had a doctor, I would want him to be my doctor. Out of all the doctors in Star Trek, he's the one out of all. He ticks all the boxes to be the perfect doctor. He's dependable. He's caring. He's funny. He's got a good personality. Good bedside manner. He's fearless, and all of these things. Yeah, Captain RG, your best episode, huh? Not for me, mate. But we'll get to that once I finish talking about the review. But regarding Colbert, I think he's definitely my favorite character of the show so far. And just to round it off a little bit more, we get Booker T basically telling Michael Burnham that, you know what, I like your values. I like what you stand up for. I want to be a part of this. I want to be part of this federation. I think I'm going to stay. And you can, and he says something loved up to Mike and said, I like being with you or some shit like that. Michael walks off and she's all like, yeah, I love this guy so much. And it's so warm and lovely. I fucking loved it. I loved it, man. I loved it. It was nice. But you know what? Immediately the concern hit me. Don't kill this motherfucker off. Do not kill him off now. Yeah. Make these guys a proper space couple.
It's coming.
Yeah? And do not kill him off, because I don't need Michael Burnham going through some tragedy again. I mean, no more, please. Just don't kill him off, because the moment they're all loved up like that, I think the axe is going to be coming for his neck any minute now.
Well, and I mean, he's only signed on right now for this season, so unless he signs on for another season.
I hope so. But how.
Don't get me wrong. I like the guy who plays Book, and I like the character too. I just don't
want them to go for the cliches. One of the things, even it's funny in a way. One of the things I liked about Mandalorian, even like I'm going on about the Mandalorian now, is that even though some of the episodes are quite mission of the week, the way it portrays itself and how it does its mission of the week episodes is very original in that sense, if you know what I mean. They don't always go for the cliches and shit, like, for instance, the Mandalorian not giving Boba Fett's armor to Cobb Vanth, for instance, which we all thought was going to happen, but it didn't. So it doesn't go for the cliches in that sense. I'm a bit worried that with this relationship being set up between Book and Burnham, I'm worried that if they do kill him off, it's only just there to create emotion and more something else in the story and a direction from Michael Burnham and shit like that. And that's the only thing that concerns me. And then it becomes more of the Michael Burnham show, which obviously you don't like. And after this episode ended, I realized, you haven't decoded this fucking message. This message, you found from the black boxes and the music and shit like that. We haven't decoded it. And you said it was going to only take a few hours. Surely a few hours has passed in the length of this episode, but that wasn't the case. So they're going to probably leave that for the next episode. And what we see in the next episode looks a bit like Philippa and is going to be trying to basically make sure she doesn't die by the looks of things, because she's worried that she's dying and shit, and she's going to the ends of the universe to fucking find that cure. So yeah, I'm not feeling that. Like I said, I don't like seeing Philippa like this. I don't like seeing a tyrant being reduced to this because you think it's a good story. That story has been done a million times over, of a powerful man becoming weak and having to rely on people around them. Don't do it like this. Yeah, make it different, but unfortunately they're going down this route. So we're going to have to start feeling a bit of sympathy for a fucking murderous tyrant. I like Philippa.
I don't know if we're going to feel sympathetic.
I like her for what she is. I like her for being who she is. We don't need to feel sympathy for her. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think we're probably just going to see more, yeah, I mean, that's probably what they're going for, is a sympathetic route. And it's just like, no. I feel like here's how I feel, is that I think Georgiou should have gone on her own, gotten some major trouble, and then Discovery bails her out, and that's how, like, not like physical health trouble, like the like, you know, like the Emerald Chain, like let's say she tries to take over parts of the Emerald Chain or something like that, and then she gets herself too deep and she can't get out, and then Discovery bails her out. But that would be awesome to have a whole episode where we're just following Georgiou as she's trying to get in further and further with the Emerald Chain, and just kind of learn the inner workings of the Emerald Chain. And then that's how we meet the lady from the Orion from this episode.
Yeah, I think they're still trying to keep. I know what you mean. They're still trying to keep the Emerald Chain fairly mysterious. I mean, we're 8 episodes in, and it's only now we've seen, I believe, the main villain of the season in Osara. Would you say?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, maybe by the end she will be probably the main villain. Of the season or whatever you want to call it. I think the Emerald Chain itself. I mean, I don't know if the Emerald Chain's going anywhere anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, she might die by the end of the season as like the main villain, but then someone else will probably just pick up her mantle.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, she killed off her nephew, so she hasn't got. I don't know how many people was in her line, but I overall just thought this was a slightly average, maybe a tad below average on the main plot, and above average on the side plots, on the subplots sort of episode. I didn't care too much about books fucking seeing. It gets a little bit confusing. Why? That's why watching this episode twice, all those confusing things have to make a little bit more sense to you. But
I was just glad to see Harlem Heat back together.
Yeah, me too. And I wasn't feeling this episode as much as I wanted to. I felt like we treaded this ground a couple of times this season, and
I don't, but that's the thing. I don't mind that because right now they're like trying to build alliances with people. I want to know what they're I'm more concerned about what they're going to do about space travel, which might be what's coming up in the next couple episodes because they're figuring out the burn and stuff like that. But like, what are they going to do about space travel?
What Discovery needs is one of these classic like it did this actually in the first season, in the middle of the first season. It just needs a classic episodic style episode in the overall narrative, which is just focused in this one show. Like it needs like a Harry.
Most of this whole season has been though.
No, but they've always had to deal with like diplomatic things, but an internal problem like which they have to deal with within the ship, something like that. They just it's somewhere in a lot of the
space. So you mean like when Harry Mudd infiltrated the ship and
and they have to deal with just him, or some alien entity or something like that. Something, just something, a unique episode which is quite bottled in the sense that you could watch it on its own and not have to worry about it being part of the overall narrative. And that's what Star Trek's kind of missing. But it's getting all the diplomacy bits and stuff like that fine, which is very much Star Trek. But some of the best episodes are the ones which is just a solo episode on its own with nothing to do with past and present and shit like that, and with them having to deal with issues on that episode. It could be anything. It could be internal, it could be external, it could be some mystery entity on the ship, it could be something like that. Something along those lines. And it's a one and done. They deal with it, they move on. This season needs something along those lines, and it's not getting any of that, and it needs that badly, because I think that's one of the few things that is missing, big time. I'm not sure if you feel the same.
I wonder if they should do an episode with like Saru and the Admiral. Like they get like the Admiral decides to go on a mission somewhere because they have the spore drive, so the Admiral decides to go on the mission, and then the Admiral and Saru kind of get stuck, or the I don't want to say Burnham, God. But like the Admiral and Burnham, or the Admiral and Saru.
It doesn't have to be that as well. Like, for instance, like some of the best episodes in TNG Voyager were holodeck episodes. Yeah. They're in the future by 1,000 years, the futuristic version of a holodeck. Just something like that, self-contained, without having to be a part of anything else to do with the overarching story. And it just happens to be a situation they have to deal with in that episode, and they have to deal with that situation.
But didn't you know that all of Discovery has just been a holodeck simulation of it's just been a holo novel made by the holographic Doctor from Voyager.
Yeah, whatever. But I'm just saying, because this episode fell flat for me. If the subplots held it together, I didn't give a fuck about the main plot. I didn't care at all. If anything, the only time it got interesting when we were back on Discovery, but what was ever happening on that planet? Bollocks to it. I wasn't feeling it. I felt it was going to be resolved. So it was hard to follow. Booker's brother and shit. It's always a family member and stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ren became more interesting in this episode. That's for sure.
Yeah, as I said, I felt like everything going on in space was far more interesting than what was going on on the planet.
Yeah. So they definitely need to work on some of their future episodes, and I hope they give us a bit more variation, because it's all good that they follow this narrative, but sometimes just a little filler episode here and there, it would be appreciated.
I'm just trying to think of what they could do. I mean, like a bottle episode. Like, I mean, I guess
I'll give you an example. Remember that one episode where they're all stuck in, like, time is stopped around them, even though they're still moving. I think it had Data, Troy, Picard. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think everybody was moving time was moving so incredibly slow.
Yeah, but that episode one, the regression episode where everyone's devolving, like that, the various holodeck episodes, things like that, those are great, unique episodes which are very self-contained, tell a great Star Trek story of how they get out of shit, and it's very sci-fi-ish, and it doesn't have to be about anything else. And I was discovering it needs that so fucking badly. The only time I've ever really seen it is that Harry Mudd episode. That Harry Mudd episode where they were going back in time all the time. It was that a Tilly episode, I believe.
I don't know if that was no, because wasn't Michael the one that was.
No, it wasn't Michael. I think it was somebody else.
Well, I feel like it was.
It could have been Michael, maybe. But yeah.
I think it was Michael that was remembering, and maybe her. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember.
But you see what I mean? Like, that episode of Discovery was great, and it didn't feel like it was part of the overall narrative. It was just for what it was. This season needs a couple of episodes like that filtered in for its overall narrative, where they're just having to deal with a whole unique problem, which has nothing to do with what they're fucking dealing with in the narration of the season. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's what it's missing, and I hope they, if they don't add it this season, I hope they add it next. But I'm not, like I said, it's starting to fall a little bit flat this season with the last couple of episodes. I mean, this episode wasn't that great in my opinion. The previous episode was a lot better, but the episode before that, I believe, wasn't that great. And it needs to just here and there, just get back on track. Remember what Star Trek is. It's not just about diplomacy. It's about some of the fun episodes of them dealing with problems and overcoming those problems.
Sciencey problems.
Just overcoming those problems. They're marooned in space or whatever. They can add the fact that they have no dilithium and shit like that, and they can use one of those episodes that the spore drive doesn't work and they've got to figure out a way of getting back. They can mix it up if they work it that way, They're like somewhere in space and they need to get back somehow without a spore drive working, and they science it up and figure out a way. Anyway, I'm just hoping.
Yeah,
so I give this episode a 5 out of 10. I don't know about yourself.
What'd you give it? I'm sorry.
5.
I give it a 6. I mean, I liked a lot of the characters surrounding. I like a lot of the character growth and the character focus on this one. Like, it wasn't a Michael Burnham episode really at all. She was in it, but she was nowhere near the main focal point. It was actually a conglomerate of characters that got the spotlight in this episode. So I mean, I'd almost put it at a 7 just because of that. But I do see all of your gripes with it. So I mean, probably a 6 or a 7. Probably.
Well, my reasons why I gave it a 5 is that there were some really good parts in this episode for a start. Those were the Giorgio and the Adira scenes. But unfortunately, those were just subplots. The main plot didn't live up to the enjoyment it should have. And this all felt like more like setup, than for something bigger down the line, than something worthy of being remembered as its own episode. This is very forgetful, very forgettable. And if it wasn't for the main plot, if the main plot wasn't so shit, I would give it a higher rank, a higher rating. But the main plot is what it's all about when it comes to these episodes. Yes, the story and the little bits and bobs are hugely important, and they help to develop the overall characters and stories of the future for the future. But right now, entertaining me right now, I wanted more and I didn't get it. Hence, only a 5. So, yeah, that's it. Anything more to say, Bob?
No, that's really it. I mean, as I said, it was an okay episode, and I mean, it's kind of pushing the narrative of the Federation helping people in need, and I mean, I think that's kind of where they're pushing the the Federation has been very inward focused prior to Discovery showing up, and now they're kind of showing that Discovery's helping them get back to their roots of where the Federation is starting to helping people outside the Federation, which will start to mend the bridges, like with Navarre and with Earth and with all these other things, all these other Trill and all these other planets that the Federation is going to start helping, and maybe we'll start bringing the Federation back together.
It feels like Discovery is done more in 5 minutes than Starfleet is done in like the last 5 decades.
Probably.
And their place, I think, is valuable to Starfleet at this moment in time. They can go anywhere in the galaxy, and they're getting everywhere they go. They kind of maybe created a new problem with Osara, but they have resolved a lot of issues.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's kind of one of the big questions and problems so far this season is space travel. Like, okay, and they even said that that the Emerald Chain is running out of dilithium too. So Discovery is going to become a pretty significant, little golden goose here in the near future. And I feel like, because I feel like they need to solve the space travel problem where, by the end of this season, like that I don't care about the burn. I feel like the thing they need to solve by the end of this season is the transportation problem, whether it's warp gates instead of warp drive, whether it's it's some kind of slipstream. Huh?
Well, this is the thing. Like, they're in the future. Their ship is docked in Starfleet. They should be all over Discovery spore drive trying to fucking replicate the shit out of it for all the other ships. I mean, the technology is over 100 years old, for fuck's sake. They should be able to figure it out.
Yeah, but they need Stamets to use it.
But they could figure out a way of making other people like Stamets. We're talking fictional problems for logical solutions here. Logical solutions for fictional problems even. So they could just sci-fi this shit. Okay, now you're doing, or we don't, by blah, 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 blah. Any human can run this. You know what I mean? It's like that's all they have to do. And
they could do that. And I mean, that might be an option. But remember, the mycelial network is alive. So I feel like Stamets has kind of found a balance with the mycelial drive. If you start having all the starships traveling that way, and on top of that, the spore drive is severely broken. Like, if you think about it, like, they can travel anywhere in the galaxy at that point. Like, if you get any ship to using the spore drive, it can travel anywhere in the galaxy. So, I mean, would it be terrible? Not really, only because we'd be able to see all, the Dominion again, we'd be able to see the Borg again eventually, if they start sending ships that way. But the spore drive is it's kind of like God mode like God mode in video games. It's kind of broken because they can go anywhere. They can spore drive a whole fleet into the Emerald Chain's main base if they found it, and then just blow them to smithereens without past all their defenses and everything. They could even spore drive them into the atmosphere of a planet and take them. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the spore drive cannot be the answer because it's too broken for this universe. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I agree. But so only one ship can have it, and that's Discovery.
honestly, I feel like I was honestly kind of hoping that the spore drive would kind of start becoming less useful in the future, like because of some yada yada, so on and so forth. So they had, but they need it because Discovery needs to be the ship that can go places and do things. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I hope resolving the fuel problem has to be the main solution of this. I'm not sure if they're going to recreate dilithium again or whatever, but I'm sure it will get resolved eventually.
yeah.
So that is Discovery Season 3, Episode 8, The Sanctuary. I hope you enjoyed that review. Bob, you got anything more to say before I round this off?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, so first of all, let me remind you all that tomorrow we'll be talking Mandalorian, hopefully around about this time or a little bit earlier, a little bit later. But keep an eye out for us. If you subscribe to us, you'll fucking find out. So don't forget to subscribe to us. And you see this logo on YouTube next to our name? That same logo for Nerd Nation is also on Facebook. It's also on Discord. But the name Nerd Nation is quite commonly used by other nerds. So to define who we are, look for that logo when you type in Nerd Nation on those platforms and you'll find us and join us and be part of our community. We're very small, but you can help us grow. So look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Mandalorian. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Live long and prosper.